We'll be on in just a moment. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we're broadcasting live here on October 16th. And on Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m., we do Black Canada Talking. I was going to say we're doing a roundtable today, but we're on Black Canada Talking. We're doing a roundtable today. And Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And every bi-weekly, we do a roundtable. And today, we have Sarah here because Cesar has a family event and Elle's busy. So on her own, and she can do more than enough on her own, we've got Sarah Onyango. How are you, Sarah?
I'm well. Coming to you from the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. And very happy to be here. And can't wait for the conversation.
Oh, I had to cut
Sarah
off on the pre-show because she was going on and like every 2 minutes.
Me and politics, right?
Yes. Like every 2 minutes there was another subject. Go, Sarah, we got to go live. We got to go live. But Sarah being, she is an accredited and established and an award-winning journalist based in the capital region of Canada. So she has the inside pulse and trek on many things. So if you want to know what's going on political wise, she's one of the go-to people you need to follow and keep a track on. So I asked her before we went live, how has her week been? She went, oh gosh.
I just basically haven't been home.
Oh, wow.
Like, today was the first time I was home because all the events have restarted.
Yes.
And now that the MPs are back, the House is back, there are a lot of events, and but it's not just political events. There are a lot of cultural events going on as well.
Yeah. So it's like from zero to 100.
And it's Caribbean Heritage Month. So happy Caribbean Heritage Month. It's also Latin Heritage Month. So here in the National Capital Region, there are events throughout the month of October for Caribbean Heritage Month and Latin Heritage Month on both sides of the river, by the way. I'm on the Quebec side.
It's we won't talk about it here, but I always wonder about the relationship between Caribbeans and Latin. the Latin community, because I know you keep your eye on the pulse, but there's quite a controversy going on in Los Angeles right now. I don't know if you know about it. Well, long story short, there were a few Latin counselors for the city of LA, and they were a recorded conversation that leaked out. One of them referred to a young Black person as a little monkey.
In LA?
Yes.
Are they out of their minds? Do they not know that Compton is in LA?
It's a whole other conversation topic, but I always find it fascinating, especially down in the United States, whereas numbers wise, the Latin population is overtaken the Black population in regards to numbers, and I think also in political power.
And that's all the more problematic when you find a lot of Latino voters going for Trump, the Republicans, and everything that is that is, counter to social progress, basically. But not all of them are like that. We can't paint them all with the same brush, because even Latino itself, that descriptive is problematic in itself, because you have Black people who are Latino.
Yes.
Right? Dominican Republic, Venezuelan Blacks, you've got, Puerto Rico, Blacks. I mean,
yeah. Well, let's go back on this side. Let's go back on this side of the border. That's a whole other conversation. All right. So Sarah wanted to first talk about the aftermath of the Quebec election. So,
mon Dieu. And I wrote down some notes for myself so that I could make sure that I give, an accurate picture. So before the election, the governing party was the Coalition Avenir Québec, which is CAQ, C-A-Q, led by, what's his name? François Legault. And so, as a lot of observers were predicting, the Coalition Avenir Québec won a second mandate. And in fact, they increased their parliamentary majority. The Liberals also predictably dropped in support. And in fact, their loss of support was historic. They registered their lowest seat count since 1956 and their lowest share of the popular vote in their history. But they remain the official opposition. And, therein lies the conundrum. Because, you had the smaller parties complaining that with a larger share of the popular vote, they got fewer seats in the Assemblée nationale du Québec. And so, for example, you have the Parti québécois. Everybody remembers Parti québécois under Parizeau, his whole comment about the only reason the yes side won was because of money and the immigrant vote, as in racialized people. Well, so his party, they finally got their leader, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, elected for that one seat. And then you got Québec Solidaire, which is the far left party, Québec Solidaire. They and the Parti québécois, again, now they're complaining because, with a larger share of the popular vote, they don't have as many seats. The only thing is, the Liberal Party, most of their seats, as predicted, were concentrated in the very, very highly populated Montreal area, right? So mostly, urban and heavily populated Montreal area. And the big news, the Conservative Party of Quebec under Éric Duhaime, that crazy conspiracy theorist, anti-vax guy, they increased their share of the vote to 13%. The only problem with them is their support is mainly spread out and in rural parts of Quebec, en région. So they didn't get any seats at all. So now,
Wow.
Everybody's complaining about, okay, the system of voting is completely skewed. How can the Liberal Party remain in the opposition with a smaller share of the popular vote than the two other parties and remain the official opposition? And in fact, right now, there's, they're talking about negotiations between the Liberal Party and those other parties, whereby the Liberal Party would agree for the smaller parties to at least, get that seat in Parliament so that they could have, that comes with a budget and that comes with airtime during question period, right? But so you're asking the leader of a party who is a Black woman, the first and only Black woman ever to lead a provincial party in Quebec. You're asking her, oh, so sister, you need to share this because, we need to be up in there. I'm sorry, I don't remember this magnanimity on the part of predominantly white and white-led parties to racialized candidates in the past. I don't remember that. So yeah, very, very controversial. So there were Black candidates. All the different parties at least managed to field at least one Black candidate. Some had more than others, depending on what areas. A lot of the Black candidates, as usual, concentrated in the Montreal area. And the four candidates who were elected that I'm going to be watching, Dominique Anglade, obviously, who is the leader of the Liberal Party. She was re-elected in Saint-Henri, Sainte-Anne. And by the way, did you know that she used to be a CAQ minister? She was in the CAQ before.
You're kidding.
She was a CAQ. She knows François Legault very well. She's she knows him well. So she went from CAQ to Liberal and became leader. The other person who was re-elected that I'm watching is Nadine Giraud. Nadine Giraud is of the Coalition Avenir Québec. She was re-elected in Bertrand. She was a minister in the previous government, so let's see how she does this time around. Lionel Carman is also a CAQ MNA, and he was re-elected in Taillon. He was also a minister in the previous government. He was health minister. He was also in charge of welfare, child welfare, right? They always give Black people the really hard, controversial jobs, eh? Right? And then France Benjamin of the Liberal Party was also re-elected in Viau. He's had some parliamentary roles in the past, but listen, we'll see. We'll see how he does. So even though this CAQ MNA was re-elected, Jean Boulet, I'm not so sure he's going back into a ministerial portfolio, at least not the immigration one. You heard that controversy?
Yep. Yeah.
So basically, he said, I forget what the forum was. I think it was a town hall or something like that. Anyway, it was public and it was recorded. And he came out and said, 80% of immigrants don't work, don't speak French, and don't believe and don't adhere to Quebec values. What in the world?
Huh. So what are Quebec values?
He wasn't drunk when he said it. He wasn't drunk and he wasn't high.
What are Quebec values?
That's the thing, and that's what people were asking. It's like, what does that mean? Is that sort of a dig at the Muslim racialized community? Is that what that is? As in, the veil? Because there's been that controversy about veiled women.
Yep.
And people the Sikh in the Sikh community with their kirpan, the dagger, and that sort of thing. 80% of immigrants don't work. I'm sorry, what? You know what he forgot to add? 80% of immigrants don't work in their chosen career field. Maybe that's what he meant. Because we all know that Quebec has that problem with systemic, anti-racialized people, racism. So I don't know, if you go to Montreal or any other city, you're going to find a lot of Arab and Black taxi drivers who actually should be in an operating room or in a classroom or, in the legal field or some other regulated profession. So maybe I'm just, this is a stretch. Maybe that's what he meant. 80% of them don't work in their chosen fields because of the racism. Maybe. I don't know.
He's not making an effort to define what he meant.
He apologized, but by the time he apologized, I'm sorry, like our Quebec media had made so much hay with it that it's going to stick to him. And I think I recall hearing in a media avail, François Legault saying, nah, he's not going back to that portfolio of immigration. He should not go back to any portfolio, period.
True. Let me ask, and before we go on to our next conversation piece, what, from your lens, what impact is the Quebec election going to have on the culture of Quebec?
Yeah, the impact is going to be really felt on the Anglophones, I think, because, all of the language law stuff that we had going on before, all of the tensions around that are going to be accentuated. And now that François Legault has a clear majority and really feels empowered with, a very strong mandate, I wouldn't be surprised if, I haven't seen the list of ministers, but he surrounds himself with, the type of people who are going to be about, no, white, French Catholic, boom. Like, we're not doing this trying to be cute and friendly and accepting and inclusive. We're not doing that. We're going to create, or recreate rather, a Quebec we, white, Francophone, Catholic, recognize, which is not very realistic. I'm sorry. The birth rate amongst whites in Quebec is very low. The cost of living is very high. The cost of housing is very high. And housing, when you can get, it's scarce. So the people having a lot of kids are us. They look like us.
Yeah.
So demographically, it just isn't going to work. And what doesn't help is now the Conservative Party of Quebec growing, in visibility and numbers because of all of the anti-vax and conspiracy theorists, Trump-like antics of this Éric Duhaime. It's not going to be a very quiet, easy mandate, I fear, over the next 4 years.
We'll certainly keep a watch on what goes on in the province de Quebec.
And Ontario should care. All the people who think, oh yeah, that's Quebec. No. Y'all should care. Not just Ontario. New Brunswick should care. Ontario should care. Alberta should care. Why? Hello, we are, are we the second largest economy provincially in the country? One. Yeah. We have a border with y'all, except Alberta. And we have a border with the United States. So trade provincially and trade, across the border, we carry some weight. Speaking of immigration, I don't know if you heard about, during the campaign, actually, François Legault was making a lot of noise about, listen, in Quebec, we have a labor shortage. We need more immigrants, but we need more immigrants that we want and that we like. So you need to give us more power. And all of the snafus around federal visa, the federal visa management dysfunction, that did not help. That actually heightened and sort of bolstered Francois Legault's argument for that, for more power for Quebec, and not just immigration, healthcare, the federal health transfers. So, yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leads us to another upcoming election, Ontario.
Yeah, municipal this time. And municipal, that's the election that really and truly matters because it's the one that's closest to you, right? Can you remind them, Dr. Vibe, why you need to vote in municipal elections?
It's the one that has the most impact on your day-to-day life.
Like?
Roads, a healthcare.
No, that's provincial.
No, not a healthcare. Sorry, that's provincial. But roads, traffic, schools, all those sort of things. That more than any other
services, some that are run by the city. Policing, hello.
Yeah, policing, yes. All those things. And it's interesting.
Garbage collection, snow removal.
Well, it's interesting.
Zoning. All these people complaining about there's too many condo towers.
Housing stuff, yes.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, I was listening to a report saying that the turnout for advanced voting has dropped since the last election.
What?
Yes.
And this in spite of the housing crisis and the policing issues.
People have given up.
But you know what? And interesting you should say, people have given up. Remember what happened in Ottawa earlier this year in February with the trucker convoy, the so-called Freedom Convoy, which turned out for Ottawa to be an occupation of over 30 days. So I have a feeling that's somewhere in the back of voters' minds here in Ottawa.
Well, I can only speak from my lens, driving around and traveling around Toronto. I see more Black and brown candidates more than ever in certain parts of the GTA, like in the area that I live in, which on city council is represented by Michael Thompson. That's a whole other conversation.
With his controversy.
Yes. Yes. And so it'll be very interesting to see what their turnout is. And again, I don't know if they'll keep stats on what percentage of people that look like you and I voted.
Yeah. So to go back to Ottawa, because this is the region that's closest to me for these elections. So there's an organization here in Ottawa called 613-819 Black Hub Noir, which has been doing a lot of really good work in terms of raising awareness, A, about what the actual issues are, and B, about who's running and why they are or aren't good for our Black constituents, right? And so they note on their website that almost half of current city councillors are not running for re-election, including some, almost half, including some who were, who had to deal with that occupation back in February of the truckers. And so, so there's going to be a lot of new faces on city council. And so they've been trying to hold sort of virtual mobilization events to just educate our Black voters about who could or could not be good allies for our Black community. So one person who is running again, thankfully, is the one and only Black councillor ever elected to Ottawa City Council in its history. And that's Ralston King. I'm sure you've heard about him.
Yep.
So he's the councillor for Rideau Rockcliffe. And so he is someone that Black Ottawa really wants back because he helped get the city's first anti-racism secretariat and anti-racism strategy created. Yeah, and he also voted against the 2020 OPS police budget increase. And he worked, and they worked. No, it wasn't him. It was 613819. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm conflating two things which are not. But anyway, so yeah, the only problem is, speaking of police and police budget, 613819 Black Hub notes that, can you imagine that the dry cleaning bill for the Ottawa police is $400,000 a year?
How much?
400,000. 400,000. 5 zeros. Okay.
Who has that contract? I'd be very curious.
Yeah, exactly. But the anti-racism secretariat, guess what their budget is?
Less than
$100,000.
I was going to say $100,000.
Look at that. It tells you where the priorities are. Oh, by the way, Jim Watson isn't running. He's retiring.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, interesting fact, coming back to Toronto, I didn't realize this till I started doing some research in the whole Michael Thompson controversy.
Yeah.
Michael Thompson has been the only Black member of City Council since 2003.
Oh my God! In the GTA?
Yes, only Black member.
How? Toronto has the largest Black and no, not Asian, but Black for sure population.
He's been the only Black representative on Toronto City Council since 2003.
Do you have an explanation for that?
Well, I think, oh boy, I think that leads into our next thing about the study that Operation Black Vote is going to do about Blacks participating in the election. So let's slide into that. I'm going to talk about this. I think a few things. Mm-hmm. I think there are a number of Black people just tired of politics. They've quit. They just say, hey, it ain't doing anything for me. In regards to people running, it's not cheap. Even at the municipal level, it's not cheap. And plus, Black person running in that area, especially if a Black man, you are open for a number of things. And I think that when it comes to politics, it's a money thing. And if we cannot gather our resources, the people look like us, especially mindful wise and financial wise, the situation is going to stay as it is, because you need organization in politics, as you know. And and like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society. So you've got to have the money to do it. Now, perfect example, Michael Thompson. It's interesting. Some friends of my dad's who know Michael Thompson very well. And Michael Thompson invited them to an event, like a little, I don't know what the celebration was. They go to the event. They're the only Black couple there.
Oh, wow.
So the question becomes, and I hope that on Operation Black Vote, they've never been on the platform. I'd like to get them on. Because realistically, can a Black person win without getting white support?
No.
Yeah, you have to have that non-melanated support, Canada. Like it or not.
Yeah.
Because it's sure numbers game. And also depends where you live too, because the area I live in, there is a lot of Middle Eastern individuals, Muslims. They have come over and basically taken over, especially small business wise. So when you see the signs for people running, Muslim. I don't see any non-melanin, pure non-melanin people running
Muslim
in the
or Middle Eastern, because not all Middle Eastern Canadians are Muslim. You know, you've got Lebanese people who are Christian.
Yeah.
You know,
but definitely.
But Middle Eastern.
Yeah. And see, this is a funny thing, because there is an area of the Greater Toronto area, Brampton.
Oh yeah, South Asian.
Totally.
Even I know that, and I'm from the National Capital.
Yeah, but when basically what they did to basically take over Brampton, we need to do. Like we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. But the biggest challenge is the getting rid of the trauma that many of us have, saying, look, if we want things to progress for us, we got to be the catalyst.
Yeah. But Dr. Vibe, is it really just the money? Because I'm finding even, Black candidates I've watched who've been able to raise money and get a bunch of white people on their side still don't do very well, and don't do very well with Black people, right?
Well, but
Isn't it
then
also a matter of the message as well, and
it's
communicating?
but it's a hard situation, because you could be looked at, well, you got white support, so Black people ain't going to support you. And it's a very tightrope you've got to walk. You don't want to be looked at as too white, but you don't want to look at as too Black. And it's very, very difficult. And again, there's a lot of stereotypes and tropes still, mentally, and not only with the non-melanated individuals, but with melanated individuals that goes on. So I'll be very interested to see Operation Black Vote study about this. I think it's very apropos. The timing is very important.
So Ralston King, for example, what I observed with him that may well have helped him win that first time, and most likely will help him win the second time, is that he had a record already in his constituency, already in his ward, having played leadership roles on neighborhood committees, on the boards of organizations that had sort of a social service vocation kind of thing. And they weren't organized, they were mainstream organizations that included Black and brown and immigrant and different class, because his ward is very diverse. It's like different income brackets, different, social backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, etc. Somehow he managed to create some sort of coalition, and it's not just money. I find there are too many of our Black candidates that I have observed here in Ottawa, especially in my continental African community. Oh, I'm going to just stand up and I'm going to run. Well, do you have a history in that ward? Do you have a proven record of community contribution that people can look at and say, oh yeah, and they were with the United Way, and they were with that organization, and every year for 10, 15 years, they volunteered and they did this, and they were very prominent in the community. So I recognize that person. They're familiar to me. I've heard them speak in the media. I've heard them intervene in different circumstances, incidents. I've heard them advocate. So I know what they will be like as an advocate for me, that sort of thing. It's like there's a lot of legwork and groundwork that needs to happen in between the elections, that our Black people are just not all that sort of great at, whether it's just sheer ignorance of how it works out here, or bad advice, like people who encourage them to run, who should know better, who should know that so-and-so really is not prepared. Let's wait out this election and go to the next election. And in between elections, let's make sure that this person is out there in the community, is, soaking up all of the issues, and is making a name for themselves, so that there's name recognition, so that we're not struggling as hard, for that next election. No, it's like, no, we're going now, we're doing this. Right. So you
got to do the work. You got to do the footwork.
And nobody owes you anything because you're Black. I ain't voting for you because you're Black. I'm voting for you if you have a record in my community.
Yeah.
If you've done some things that I can point out and say, yeah, but listen, so and so brought such and such a program that helped get a bunch of people off the street here in my neighborhood. Or they had the recreation center renovated, like they got, the provincial government or whatever to invest. They got that renovated. Now young people have somewhere they can go to train, to play, to whatever.
Your
and get off
receipts.
the streets and
What
that sort
receipts
of,
do you have? Yeah. What
right?
receipts do you have?
But if I can't even point to anything, but you're a Black person, so I should vote for you and I should have you on my show to talk about nothing because you don't have much to go on except maybe the message track that the party or your advisors gave you to trot out on the air. Like, no, that's not going to work. It's very much about coalition building, bridge building, establishing your credibility over a number of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You got to do that groundwork. You got to make sure you show your face at events. And again, what have you done for me?
Yeah. Yeah, which is why I applaud Operation Black Vote Canada, Velma Morgan and her team for the different boot camps that they have in between elections for
That's the
aspiring
important
candidates.
thing.
Right?
That's what is happening in between elections. So anyone who wants to run the next municipal election, you need to start doing your work now. You've got
for the next one.
Yes, and you've got to look at what's going on in the current election, and also you should be getting out there. And any of the candidates that are speaking, just go to their events and listen, and also see who shows up. What do people applaud about? What do the people don't applaud about? So you can do the work, because it's all about doing the work. You know, traditional footwork. Actually, we had a lady who's running in Brampton, Black woman, and we asked her, what was the hardest thing about campaigning? It was the hardest thing about campaigning. She was so nervous about doing door knocking.
Door knocking is that's the gold. That's where it's at. So I have to send a shout out to my sister who is running out in Navan or somewhere like that in Ottawa, Yvette Ashiri, fellow 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. I have to shout her out. She is doing that work. She ran. This is going to be her third time.
Wow.
Running for city council, a Black woman, Congolese, who has already established her credibility as a leader, as a feminist, as an advocate for families, for children. And the door knocking is constant. She talks about it. She celebrates it. She is constantly in volunteer recruitment mode. And attending so many events. And she's a mom. She's got her two precious daughters. She's got her husband. She's got a job. But this is the price to pay, the door knocking. And you also have to be somebody who is not going to stop door knocking after the election is over. And that's what's going to get Ralston King reelected. That man has continued. Every time I turn around, boom, there he is. At a Black event, at an Italian event, at a Greek event, at a Lebanese event, at this event, at the other event.
There you go.
So it's not just during the campaign, it's after the campaign, and it's in between elections. You have to be consistent. Consistency, that's another thing. Consistency and integrity. People look for, if you're there just to use it as a stepping stone, make a name for yourself, make a few bucks, help out your developer friends, blah, blah, blah. People see through that.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me.
Oh, yeah. People will find you out quickly.
Very
quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quick.
So Black people, please don't be tired. Yes, it's politics. But you know what? It's the kind of politics that hurts your pocket. Whether it's housing, property tax,
property taxes there, yeah.
Find housing, school tax, the quality of the schools in your particular school district, and also the quality of learning in your schools. As 613-819 Black Hub Noir very, very well say, these are the people, the school board trustees. They get to determine the budgets and the quality for your child's education. So you need to be about that. You need to be about school board trustee elections, city elections as well. City elections are also about equity in terms of who gets employment at the city level. Hello. And who gets contracts? You were talking about the contract. You were wondering for the dry cleaning.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet you ain't no black person getting that kind of dough.
No.
To be doing some dry cleaning for some cops. I'm just saying. I don't think so.
I'm just saying I'm not saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's bring up to our last conversation piece today. The government of Canada has launched a call for proposals for the Black-led Philanthropic Endowment Fund. So I'll read a little bit about this from a press release back from October 3rd. Today, the Honorable Ahmed Hussein, the Minister of Housing and Diversity and Inclusion, launched a call for proposals that will see the government of Canada invest up to $200 million for the Black-led Philanthropic Endowment Fund. The fund is dedicated to supporting Black-led charities and social purpose organizations. The call for proposals was designed and realized following virtual roundtables and online engagement with nearly 150 Black stakeholders across Canada. The endowment fund will create a sustainable source of funding to help combat anti-Black racism and improve social and economic outcomes in Black communities. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, my voice is going.
You need some water.
Okay, we're back. All right, I'll just read a little bit more. Black-led and Black-serving not-for-profit organizations and charities are invited to submit a proposal to be the intermediary who administers the endowment fund. Organizations that meet the eligibility criteria will then be assessed on an organizational capacity, objectives, activities, results, and budget. So, Sarah, what do you think about this initiative?
Oh my God, all this money that the government of Canada has been throwing at some Black people. Ooh, Lord, And then they throw this money at us, and then they make us jump through hoops to get that money. And even after we've jumped through the hoops, remember the fiasco over that ESDC thing where demonstrably Black and Black-led organizations were denied on the basis that they were not Black enough. Remember that?
Yep.
Interestingly, wasn't Ahmed Hussein the minister of ESDC at that point? Again, so...
Well, it raises, and it's funny because I actually...
Sorry, brother minister, I'm not making a dig at you. It's just a coincidence that, But, so, who would want to be this organization? Given...
Well, not only what, but who... Do you know any organizations right now that would qualify, that are national in scope, bilingual, and most importantly, financially managed well?
Not bilingual. But the organization I'm thinking about, I don't even, it's not even like social in scope, the BBPA, but and they already have a lot on their hands with a lot of other funding anyway. So, no, I can't.
So this is, yeah.
In Quebec, I don't see who it could be. And quite frankly, I would not want to be that organization. I would not, because, you need to have a board that's regionally representative, that is able to look at regional differences. The Black community in Nunavut is not the Black community in Edmonton, is not the Black community in Victoria or Salt Spring Island, is not the Black community in Halifax, and is definitely not the Black community in Gatineau. I can tell you that. So, the board has to be representative enough to make balanced decisions. And quite frankly, to combat anti-Black racism, combat anti-Black racism, Government of Canada, by treating Black people fairly, period. Throwing money at programs doesn't change the bad behavior, lack of judgment, and really overt racism of some government administrators of various programs, departments, and agencies. It does not. You can throw all the money you want, and it's not going to change anything unless there is accountability in all of our institutions for the anti-Black racism, people getting fired, losing their jobs, getting demoted. White privilege is a powerful elixir.
Oh.
Once you have tasted it, you are wont to let it go. Hey, why do you want to share your power and empower other people who can come and question your privilege? Why do you want to do that? Yeah, and at the same time, this government of Canada money is our money too.
True.
As Black people, we are taxpayers. So white-led organizations, white-led women's organizations, child welfare organizations, they get money. They're getting government money, which is part of our taxes. We should too. I wish there was that mythical organization that could...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Mythical. What organization?
I can't think of any.
Yeah. And
maybe it's out there and I just don't know.
It'll be very interesting to see the organization that gets it in the end. And like you mentioned one, and there are other ones that are out there. And then my question would be, have they developed trust with Black Canadians?
I don't know. An organization like CAFCAN, could they? Are they national enough? Or
yeah, well, yeah, maybe.
And notice I keep mentioning GTA organizations, right?
Right.
That in itself is problematic.
Right.
Because here in Gatineau, we're finding that when it's GTA organizations, anything outside of GTA, maybe Nova Scotia, if you're lucky, is really the backwoods and gets the leftovers and doesn't really get much consideration. And I mean, it's the same problem as exists in the mainstream. It's not particular to the Black community. The Arabs have the same thing, because there are French-speaking Arab people from North Africa and Lebanon, etc. Same issue with the lack of sort of consideration of the specific needs of those of us who are in a linguistic minority, les francophones. So, and it's not just translating stuff. It's not. No, that's what people think. Oh, well, we need a translation budget. We can arrange that. No, it is not. It is a whole cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's a respect thing.
Yep.
And those of us also educated in Francophone settings, it's a different system of education as well. So, I don't know. It's likely to be messy. I hope they actually find an organization, because imagine if they can't find a qualifying organization and that money has to be sent back, because how long is this Trudeau government going to be in power?
And Mr. Poilievre,
and you best believe PP is going to come in there and shoot holes in every single thing the Trudeau government put in place.
This will be one of the
just because.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the ongoing stories, not only for the rest of the year, but especially next year, because they're going to be making a decision by spring next year.
Yeah.
And as Sarah said, I wouldn't want to be the organization who has that responsibility.
Nope.
Because you got to make money.
Yep.
And you got to be national, bilingual, services, and mindset. And I don't know too many organizations just that have that criteria, are in good standing with all that criteria.
Well, maybe people watching this can drop names of organizations
Yeah.
in the
Tell
chat.
us, yeah. Give
You
your
know?
suggestions and email
And
me.
so the deadline is when again?
Okay, so the proposals, proposals have to be in by Friday, November 25th at noon Eastern time, and the successful organization will be announced by spring 2023. Now, for people who are following me on different social media platforms, especially Facebook and YouTube, I did have a 15-minute conversation with the minister about this. So I tried to get as many questions as I could in the 15-minute period. So I suggest, especially if you're a Black Canadian, check out that conversation. Because I still have a lot of questions.
Yeah. And it's good to ask questions. And the fact that you're asking questions does not mean you're trying to undermine. That's another thing I find in the Black community. When you keep asking questions and you're digging and you're trying to get to, the essence of, what's behind this, who's behind this, why is it being done this way? Why is the deadline so close? Why was it announced like this? Why do people not have time to get their ducks in a row? It's not because you're trying to undermine. It's because you really want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Well, hold on, though. These organizations' ducks should be in a row already. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
True.
Right? Mm-hmm. They should be, especially with all the programming and all the money that's been made available over the last few years, you should have those governance things already in place.
Yeah.
So when one comes up, you don't have to start from scratch.
True.
Just a thought.
Just a thought.
Just a thought. Well, Sarah, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. Guys, October 24th, please, whether you're in Ottawa, Hamilton, Toronto, Sudbury, I don't care where you are.
Windsor.
Please, please, please make sure you know who all the candidates are for all the positions. City Council, City Hall, School Board Trustee. Those are the three main ones. There might be some others in between, but those are the three main ones. Please do your research. Please, please, please. And for crying out loud, please vote. Even if it's not for you yourself right now today, vote for your kids, your neighbor's kids, your grandkids.
Yeah.
Because by not voting, that's an action you're taking on behalf of someone who cannot. Think of it that way. It's a responsibility as well as a right. Please vote. October 24th.
Sarah, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Black on Black, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on CHU 89.1 FM. Black on Black 891 at hotmail.com.
All right. Thank you for taking the time as always. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care. That was Sarah was just laying it down, giving you the inside. So if you say, oh, I don't know what's going on with politics, hello, you just got it from a Black lens, a credible Black lens, not your local newspaper who may be giving you like a 2-minute snippet, detailed. So myself and Sarah want you to make a decision and take action. And the smallest thing is take some time to research your candidates in your area in Ontario and vote. As she said, it's a generational thing because what you do and do not do, your kids are going to a lot of times replicate. So we'll leave it at that. If you want to get in touch with myself, website is at thedrvibeshow.com. Email dr@thedrvibeshow.com. YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter at drvibeshow. And Instagram, The drvibeshow. I'd like to thank everyone who watched this live on the replay. Also, you can watch replays of Black Canada Talking at The Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook and on the website. And finally, Would you like to promote your business or service on our show? Please contact me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So this is how we close out things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. And again, if you are in Ontario before the 24th or on the 24th, vote, please. Take care.